Hey guys, welcome to Gamescom 2015. I'm Dave. I'm here with Tamoor. You've been doing some sieging. You've been besieged.
Sieging hard. Rainbow
Sieging
Six
hard.
Siege at the
You sieged
Ubisoft.
6 times.
No, I don't think so. I think you siege way more than 6 times.
That's good.
Well, that's the hope. Otherwise, Ubisoft have a problem.
That's a lot of sieges.
Yeah. So I played an early build of the game. I think it's just pre-beta. Beta starts in a few weeks, but they're still locking in content. So some of the stuff I saw was a bit shaky, like animations were a bit wonky and guns were floating in the sky sometimes when you fell down. But what I played was really, really interesting. Now, you and I are both seasoned Counter-Strike players. So I tried to apply some of my Counter-Strike knowledge to it and found pleasantly that not a lot of it served me very well.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the comparison that a lot of people have been drawing saying, hey, Ubisoft, this looks a lot like Counter-Strike. You just debunked that.
It does look a lot like Counter-Strike.
It doesn't play like
It
Counter-Strike.
functions a lot like Counter-Strike. But what Counter-Strike has is, the way I see it is like, you reach the point when you play Counter-Strike, nothing changes in the environment around you.
No, you've got your fixed strats.
Yeah, dust is always dust. So you could sit there for a month, learn every strat, every angle, know all the line of sights, and you're pretty much good. Then it's just down to your dexterity and your reaction times. The thing with this game is it's very, very destructible. Every environment is destructible, it's very tight, and they're multi-layered. So you've got to really think about what's around you. How can someone use that as a way to either disrupt your strategy or approach from different ways? So what happened with me was I played both sides. So initially I was defending and then I was on the offense. So, and we were in this weird bunker type place, which was like part house, part weird underground bunker thing. Clearly some weird stuff had happened there.
Right.
Like terrorists were there. The negotiations
Like
were
halfway
over.
Moved in.
Yeah, they were kind of moving in, and now they had like weird stuff set up downstairs. So you go in, guns blazing, and the other team needs to defend. So I was defending, and there was a lot of like wooden walls that, because they're wooden, someone could just stand on the other side and listen out for you and shoot through them. So my operative had the ability to reinforce the walls.
Okay.
So it's stuff like that. Remember figuring out, oh, there's a window behind me. That could potentially be a line of sight for someone, and so I need to plug it up. Or you could be like, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to plug up these doors so that you're kind of tricking, you're trying to guide using an invisible hand the player to a choke point that you've set up. It's basically about creating a shell around yourself and then trying to hold the position for as long as possible.
I see.
But the cool thing was, there was like a whole bunch of different operatives. So like from different parts of the world, different like military styles, that kind of thing. But each had a unique weapon loadout, and they each had a good like specific role. And what would happen was you'd pick that, but you could only have one of them at a time in our build anyway. So if you had the guy who's really good at breaking down fortifications, no one else could pick him.
Right.
But it meant that you had to kind of really think about your composition and try and build your strategy around it. So we had, when we were on the attack, we had a guy who had a very large shield, and in the kind of like scouting mode, when you first start, you don't just start and go with it. You get a little chance to like guide these little drones around and see where they're set up.
Right.
So in that mode, we saw where they were, and then they had clearly set up this kind of like choke point for us. So our strategy was to pick the guy with the big shield and also take the guy with a smaller shield, let them lead the charge, hide behind them, and just kind of like pop out and keep taking pot shots.
You're like police-based Roman Testudos.
Exactly, that is exactly what it was. And we were like lobbing, whoever had a grenade could chuck a grenade over the top.
Okay.
And then what was happening was we quickly realized that they were focusing in on us, because we had the two shields. They couldn't break through, so most of the team started gathering around us, which was the perfect opportunity for one of us to break away and flank. And he flanked by going around, like busting through it. It was a guy who's capable of busting through fortifications. Went around, broke through a window, came downstairs and caught everyone facing the two shielded guys and just like laid into them and killed almost all of them. It's really, really interesting. It's basically like there is no specific line of sight. You need to think about whether enemies can break in from where you're looking, maybe behind you, above you. There was a bit where a bomb went off and like the ceiling started collapsing on itself, and I was like, damn, I need to keep an eye on that just in case someone could chuck another bomb in there, and while I'm preoccupied, just drop down behind me. So yeah, it's just super dynamic, super interesting, and like as a Counter-Strike fan, it's good to have a game where not everything is static. Every time you come back there, it's dynamic, things are changing, everyone has their own style of play. You're never just running to A, B, and just, you know, smoking the same way every time and just hoping that you're quicker than the other person.
It really sounds like they're trying to focus on kind of keeping the same maps, keeping the same formula,
Yeah.
but having lots of replayability.
Exactly.
Like, it seems like there's... Okay, so you went with one strategy, but
Yeah.
that strategy could have been countered by a clever terrorist.
Exactly.
And then you could have countered his strategy.
Absolutely.
Which kind of feels like it's going to mean that no two games are going to be the same because of
Yeah.
the level of destructibility, because of the options you have, because of the team compositions you have. You're
Exactly.
going to be able to build what you want, do what you want.
Yeah.
But because there's obviously the good guys and the bad guys, it's an asymmetrical shooter. How have they balanced this?
It's difficult to tell about balance because I had one go on each side. It's difficult to tell whether the guns, how they stack up against each other, and how operatives kind of work when you're going up against someone who's naturally you're the kind of counterpoint to you, whether there's an imbalance or a balance, and how, like, even if there's some overpowered strategies. I think that's one of the things that they'll address as the game is out there and evolves. I think they're thinking of it like they're taking the eSports route. Like, this game is built for eSports to the point where they've introduced a brand new spectator mode. So as well as having the first person mode, they've done like a top down mode.
Okay.
So you can see the entire map and you can see where people are going, and it's partly because they want people to watch it through eSports, but also because they want people to watch it and learn. So like balancing and stuff like that is going to be very reactive, I think. They're treating it like something like Dota, something like Street Fighter,
Absolutely.
where when people figure out exploits, they'll discuss whether they want to patch it, maybe figure out some alternative balancing methods, and then go from there. It's a very dynamic kind of like living, breathing game.
You're getting me excited for this game. I can't wait to play it. Me and Tamoor are going to go bunker down and reinforce our apartment. If you want to see more on Rainbow Six Siege, you can keep it tuned in for GameSpot.